Hi everyone, my name is Arsen Ostrovsky. I am the Chair and CEO of the International Legal Forum, and we have a really exciting interview for you here today with a very, very special guest, Russell Robinson, who is the CEO of Jewish National Fund USA. Now this interview is special for many reasons, but two in particular. One is that this is the first interview we've done in person for a long, long time since the COVID restrictions. So we are happy and excited and thrilled to have you here with us in person, to have you here in Israel, and even more excited that you made time for us. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure everyone knows by now, Russell, you are truly one of, and I say this with all sincerity and honesty, one of the most dynamic leaders in the Jewish world, a visionary, someone who puts Zionism to practice. And for me, that is very much what JNF-USA does. I think you're the embodiment, very much so, of modern Zionism today. So we're really excited and honored to have you here to talk about modern Zionism, to talk about the future, to talk about what JNF-USA is doing in this very important space. Russell, thank you for being with us.
Well, I'm going to do a mutual admiration society because first off, thanking you for allowing me to be able to broadcast out with you to people, because I come to Israel and I get going from the north to the south every day. You happen to know how to do the airways and to get the message out for the Jewish people as one of the top influencers in the entire world for the land and for the people of Israel. And I thank you, because that is the medium. That is the people that are out there. And it's so easy to talk to yourself. It's much more difficult to be talking to the others. And to the others is where the conversation should be. I'm a great believer in Jewish National Fund. Arsen, we always have the 10, 20% love us. And you cannot even get them to not love us. And then there's that 20% who hate us. And I grew up in the South in the United States. I know what hate is and anti-Semitism is. You're never going to convert that 20%. You want to give facts, figures, Balfour declarations and declarations of independence, but the ones in the middle are confused. And the confusion is caused as much by us as by them. And you are able to bring clarity to the message, and you are really talking to the people who have to have the conversation with.
All right, likewise, thank you. What I love about Zionism is the fact that here I am, living here in Israel, you in the United States, but Zionism is certainly something that connects us and creates this bond, not only this personal bond, I think, but obviously through Israel as a conduit as well. But I wanted to ask you, I know JNF-USA is doing a lot of things in this space, and you'll talk about that, but I want to start off really to put this in context. And Zionism is something, certainly a very inherently personal concept. We know that Zionism is the Jewish people's rights of determination in our ancestral homeland as a base. But it means different things to everyone. For some, it's connection to the land, to the Torah, to the history, to the army, to all sorts of aspects. What does Zionism mean to Russell Robinson personally?
So I take it on a very interesting journey, because I think that Zionism to me, but I then evoke that, I think, on other Jews. Lech lecha. Go forward to new land. What other people have that? None. No Christianity has a land as part of its existence. Islam does not have a land as part of its existence. Catholicism, Buddhism, Hinduism. But for the Jewish people, before kashrut, before circumcision, these two major parts of our life, the only thing before to go forward to a new land was Shabbat. God decided land was going to be part of our existence. Now, we've had those journeys. We just finished Pesach. What do we talk about? Come home to land. Come home. What do we do every day when we've seen people in our modern time history? Don't think about, Moses. Soviet Union, millions of Jews, all they wanted to do, they didn't want to take over the government of the Soviet Union. They didn't want the gold of the Soviet Union. They just wanted freedom. Freedom to what? To come home. Ethiopian Jews. freedom to come home. And today, tens of thousands of American Jews who have that freedom are making that movement to Zionism real. Why? Because this isn't the ingathering of the exiles anymore. Now Zionism is alive. Zionism is our ancestral soil, open to any Jew anywhere in the world who wants to come here or not, or any Jew that lives anywhere can have that as part of their soul, as part of their existence. So you cannot remove Zionism from Judaism. And you cannot be anti-Zionist and pro-Jewish. Because it is one and apart. And that's, to me, if you want to believe as a Jew, you got to believe in Zionism. If you believe in Zionism, you got to believe as a Jew. Now that interpretation of what it means to you, we allow it, and Jewish National Fund allows it. That's okay. It's different colors and different looks and different feels. But it's about the Jewish people and Zionism together.
Do you have to be Jewish to be a Zionist?
I think you do not have to be part of the movement of Zionism to want the Jewish people to have constantly the strength and the ability to have their ancestral soil. I think that I could be for a lot of movements. There's a lot of movements in the world that want people to have that what they believe and what they belongs to them. That doesn't mean I have to be them. But I could absolutely equate with their movement. So Zionism, you can equate with the movement and be part of the movement because you believe. The reality is that the Jewish people deserve their own homeland. By the way, as many other nations have had in the world.
Sure. Can I ask you, how do you see the discussion around Zionism today? Because we've seen, I think, this almost evolution where, certainly from the founding of the State of Israel and the Six-Day War, there was tremendous support for Zionism, for the Jewish people's right to build and settle in this land. But in the last decades, we've also seen Zionism essentially, what I'd say, become hijacked by our detractors. We can point back to the 1975, infamous UN resolution equating Zionism with racism. And even though that resolution was ultimately repealed, I'm not sure if the sentiment ever truly went away. And we're seeing this perhaps today emanating in the various movements like the boycott movements. We see people saying today, it's no longer fashionable to say, look, I don't like the Jews, but Israel, Zionism, that's different. Is Zionism today, a cover for many of them, an excuse to sort of to shield and masquerade their attitudes?
Your historical lines tell the story. Theodor Herzl, 120 years ago, claims that we're going to work towards a nation for the Jewish people after 2,000 years. Yeah. And in all respect to you being on the digital platform, I want you to imagine a guy in his 30s had to send a letter to groups of people out there, no Twitter, no TikTok, no Facebook, no internet, and he had to galvanize a Jewish community throughout the world, poor, to have the idea that we're going to return to a land after 2,000 years. I don't have a map to show you, I don't have a lot of success. But people came because it was a winning formula, a winning thought. The establishment of the State of Israel, how many people have you talked to can tell you the story of their grandfather sitting by the radio, waiting for the last vote to make Israel a nation? Pride, win. 6-Day War is when the hidden Yidden came out. Look at the growth of the American Jewish community. From the 6-Day War, Jewish community centers grew. Synagogues, temples grew. Because all of a sudden, we were winning. We then had the movement for Soviet Jewry. And we were winning. What other group of people with nothing, a population of 0, tore down the big Soviet Union? It wasn't nuclear missiles. It was the Jewish people. 250,000 Jews march on Washington in December, not in Florida, in Washington, D.C., against the head of the Soviet Union. But then you have a person come up on the UN, forget that it was turned around or not, and makes this blistering statement. And I'm sorry to say that our Jewish leadership and our Jewish people didn't respond. They didn't respond with the fervor and the love and the belief and waving the flags. of pride, not against, for. And we allowed it to be taken away from us. The word. Because if you talk to people under the age of 25, they don't even know what Zionism is. They either equate it with, is it, I don't know, something bad.
Yeah.
That's our fault, not their fault. Our fault. We're not telling them you're part of the greatest movement, the greatest opportunity to bring about a life for the Jewish people, by the way, in America or Australia or in Mexico and in Israel, because you're connected to that. And the strength of the Jewish people has always been proven. If we're strong there, we're strong here. But if we're weak in any one, the weakness is the crumbling point for us all.
How do you see it specifically to the youth of today, to the students on campus? I mean, they're in so many ways the ones at the forefront of this battle of Zionism and against Zionism from so many detractors. And one of the most saddening parts for me is just seeing that some people from our own Jewish community perhaps are reluctant to openly identify even today as Zionists. And perhaps it is partly a failure of leadership in the past. But how do you see the youth, the students, the people on campuses today, how are they affected by Zionism?
Look at the conversation we're trying to have. Two-state solution, 13-state solution, 42 states. Ask them if they know where in the world have they had a conversation about a two-state solution. So first, we're having a very complicated conversation at the highest levels without any reinforcement of knowledge. Second, we say they're bad. And we're very big at making sure that they don't get to protest, or we're very sure that they're not telling the right story. I don't care about them. How about telling our Jewish people young, and college is too late? I'll give you a terrible story, terrible statistic. 25 years ago, 19,300 teenagers from the United States of America went on long-term programs to Israel of 4 weeks or more. Today, before Corona, 3,000. I don't know, if you're doing a body scan and you see after 25 years, 19,300 down to 3,000, the most impressionable, most momentous moment of our teenage life, is our teenage years. So we have to make that grow. In the Jewish National Fund, we are working on that. We just put $25 million into a fund, not just to help our own Alexander Muss High School in Israel, which is a semester abroad. I think it's the best ever. We've gone from 600 to 1,500 students. We're going for 5,000. But $25 million to help Try Israel, the conservative movement school, and Heller High, the reform movement school that's here, because we want to have all ships rise, because we know in the Jewish community, going back to what I said, when we're strong here, there, we're strong everywhere. And Jewish National Fund, no other organization has invested into what? A competition? We don't see it as a competition. We see it as the Jewish future. So in colleges, quit talking about them. How about how great we are? How about we have done more? There's an African farmer, yes, an African farmer, who's bringing food onto their plate, of their family, of their village, and their nation. Do you know why? From a water technology created in a place called Israel, Israel makes the world a great place.
That should be the Ministry of Tourism's tagline.
Right. All of a sudden, I don't have much facts there. I talked about a farmer, food, Israel being great. But if I empowered you to want to learn more, I win. If I believe my story is correct, I just want those young people to say, stop. You're saying this, by the way, without facts. They do the flag waving, children, so on. And we're trying to give them the Mishnah. No, let me tell you, in 1948, and then we have that thing, and it was given to us by God. And by their eyes roll. I want them empowered to want to learn more.
I'll tell you what I love about JNF-USA, many things. In so many ways, I think that we as in those people who love Israel and the pro-Israel community are struggling today. We're struggling to convey a narrative. I think we're struggling in that war, and we've allowed our detractors to define who we are. And what we've done instead is we've responded to criticism that we're not an apartheid state, we're not a racist state, and so on. So we're using their language, their narrative, so we're in the back foot already. But what JNF, I think, does fantastically well is that you tell Israel's story and this multifaceted story of whether it's the pioneering the land, whether it's the employment center opportunities, whether it's what's happening with water and so on and so forth. And you tell that story, I think, in a way that resonates emotionally. And when we're talking, I think, about especially youth and the next generation, I think that's what they understand best. And I think, so from that perspective, enormous credit to what you guys are doing in telling Israel's story and the story of the people of Israel, which is, one of, I think, strength and resilience and hope and innovation. And it's not something we talk about nearly enough, but you do. So
we won't stop.
That's important.
We won't stop. It's so, I believe it. Listen, documentaries are great. I watch documentaries. But the majority of people watch Wonder Woman. And they watch the Avenger movies. And the Jewish people is the greatest Avenger movie ever created. So if billions of dollars and billions of people are going to go watch those movies, let's start that conversation. Why do we have to start with a documentary which very few people want to watch? But if you want to know more about the great Avengers, I say this all the time. We have a terrible habit of telling about the Jewish people. Well, my Aunt Matilda, she ran over somebody in 1923. And my neighborhood, they don't like me too much. They've never really liked me. And I got to tell you, over history, people wanted to kill my family. Would you like to join my team? No. Sounds like a losing proposition to me. How about, and I hate putting it in sports analogy, but I'd like to make it simple. If you love the New York Giants, you're a New York Giants fan, you have blue in your blood, you have the scarf that your grandfather gave you, you have the coat, you have 3 kids, you buy season tickets, you paint their face blue. With your wife not looking, you tattoo their tuchus with the Giants logo on it. You go to the games, you have season tickets, you love the Giants, but they keep losing. You love the Giants, your grandfather, your father, you, your children, and then it's raining. And you make a decision, let's watch it on TV. Jewish people lose one. Now we're sitting on the couch and we're watching the Giants and they're losing. And what do? We look around and we change the channel to see what else is on. Jewish people have lost twice. Let's get in the game. We're winning. In 1967, a magazine wrote about the Jewish people of the United States would be, by the year 2000, less than 2 million Jews. Reform Judaism would be gone. There'd be a very small Orthodox community, and there would only be left conservative Judaism. Well, Life magazine is out of business. We're 8.5 million Jews in America, growing by 10%. Reform congregations are growing. 10% of Reform congregations have building campaigns. Young Israel synagogues can't find enough rabbis for the amount of congregations they want to build. We're winning. Let's talk about winning. Let's get them back into the stadium, painting their faces blue and white. Don't let them watch TV at home. But it's going to be leaders who talk about how great it is to come to the game.
You talk about leadership, and I want to connect the future to the past, because I think unless we learn from the past, we're bound to repeat the mistakes moving forward. And you said something before when we were talking about the battle for Zionism, that in the past there was an absence of Jewish leadership standing back and fighting back. JNF-USA is not standing back. You are not sitting idly by, you are doing, which is, I think, the most inspiring thing about your work. So I'd love to know specifically about your This Is Zionism project, because I think that's one of the most incredible things, connecting the state of Israel, the people of Israel, to the Jewish people throughout the diaspora, not just in the United States. So I know you're doing some incredible things in that sphere, trying to reclaim Zionism and trying to conveyed in that, as a symbol for something that's positive, as a bridge for the future, and to connect the state of Israel and the Jewish people. So please, maybe you can tell us more about what you guys are doing in this space.
Well, it came about as an evolution of a lot of things, but our school in Hod HaSharon, or Alexander Ross High School in Israel, we have one of the great problems of the Jewish world: we're oversold. Even in Corona, 241
problems like that.
Right, 241 kids. We came with a charter the day after Pesach, and they came, the first high school group to show up to Israel during this whole thing, and we had a group in the fall. We're going to sell out. Both of our groups in the summer are sold out, and our fall group for the first time is near sellout. But that means that we don't ever want to say no. So we're going to be building a second campus in Beersheba. But the Beersheba municipality, the people of Beersheba, said, dream big. No, forget 6 acres of land, 26 acres of land. So to dream big, we're going to build a second high school for us. We're going to build a second high school for others.
You really are living Herzl's vision. If you will it,
it'll happen.
It is no dream.
We'll have college internship programs, so gap year programs, college kids from America and around the world coming for 1 year for gap year. But then we're working with the Mechina program here in the United States. So in Israel, why not have Mechina there too? So Israeli kids and American kids and Australian kids and South American kids are taking their gap year, one before army, one before college, and getting to know each other. Because that is the new conversation, getting to know each other. And then post-college graduate. And then let's build an adult education Zionist forum there with short-term stay facilities. Let's bring synagogues and temples together and have a synagogue from the 5 towns in New York meet with a temple from Beverly Hills. And they came on their own, and they stayed at our village. But they came to an afternoon class on the footsteps of Abraham. By the way, our village is only 500 yards away from Abraham's well, where the conversation first began. And they get to know each other. And they share each other's name on WhatsApp. And when they go back, they continue a conversation about shared values and common destiny. But in that focus group of building this, that we're going to go out to architect in the next 6 months, it's a $350 million vision. We started having focus groups. And the saddest thing happened. Kids who had been on Birthright were part of our focus groups. We wanted to make sure we were building correctly. And the word Zionism came out. Kids who had been on Birthright. Kids who had been on high school programs. And we were hearing stories. I'm not sure what Zionism is. Well, you were in Israel. Yeah. But I hear in college, isn't it something bad? We took a breath and said, nothing's bad when you hear it. It only gives you the opportunity to re-engineer. So we said, okay, we're taking this word back. So we have a campaign, Share Your Frame, on Facebook and on Twitter. Come on, JNF.org. It's about what Zionism means to you. You simply take a picture, it takes seconds. You share it on social media. You ask other people to share it. You could say what you want about Zionism. What does it mean to you? It comes in different colors. We started the campaign a little over a week ago. I think we're up to 1,300 people have already done it without any marketing and campaign. We want to get to 100,000 people sharing a frame on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, getting the message out that you could be Jewish and non-Jewish, that you could be young or you could be old. You could take a picture of Timna National Park and that becomes something that's Zionism to you, or the Kotel. Or it could be your child, or it could be your grandfather. But that Zionism to you means so much, but the one thing that it does mean, without question, is it's about the soul, the beauty and the freedom of the Jewish people to have their own destiny. And that is what we're trying to convey to the world, that positiveness of Zionism. Share your frame. Go on to JNF.org. Be part of the movement. The movement to taking it back. Not a JNF campaign. There's no monetary parts to it. It's just saying to the world, we are here, we are strong, we are together, we are one.
Let me ask you, how will you measure success of this campaign?
Already, I could tell you, in such a short time, it's not the 1,300 people. It's the organic growth. it's only started because 300 or 400 people posted their picture first, and we could see that their posting their picture has other people posting their picture. So, usually when you have a campaign, you're going after customer one. Customer, advertising the customer. Here, we've already found we're at a 3 to 4 to 1 ratio of people just posting and the organic growth of people wanting to join. We have people from India have joined onto their picture. I don't have their names, addresses, or email. They're not coming onto our Facebook or Twitter account or our Instagram. Somebody posted, they saw it, and felt so compelled that they wanted to put their picture in, and what it says to everybody is you're not alone.
Amazing. I know we're running out of time, so I wanted to ask you one last question. A few days ago, we marked Theodor Herzl's birthday. Imagine now, it's not me, you're sitting here speaking to Theodor Herzl, who obviously, dreamt of a Jewish state. What would you say to him if you could have a conversation with him right now? What would you say to him about his vision?
I would say that one of the shames is that you didn't know this Theodor at the time. But you're going to die at 44. That means in your 30s. In your 30s, you started a movement that changed the world greater than any Microsoft or Facebook or Apple phone or even nuclear bomb. You changed the movement after 2,000 years that has a conversation that is still continuing today to be ironed out and to be made by each other. And you did that as a young leader. And I hope that what you do write about is that it's not just to do it, but when you do it when you're young, and the leadership is going to take a lot of battles. You have a lot of scars. Tell that story of your scars. As a young leader, the fastest part of our donor demographic change is our 25 to 40-year-olds, our JNF future. It's the most important part. I always tell them about you, Theodor. In your 30s, a non-religious man decided that you were going to fill the void of nobody talking and make positive change and fill the void and make it happen. And if you could have done a little bit more with a unified Jewish community, maybe Israel would have been around in 1939. Wow, what a change. But thank God for you, that you helped push us on after 2,000 years and everything going against you. You took that leadership, filled the void. Thank you. As a young leader, you changed the world greater than any of those other people that they talk about today.
Well, Russell, I couldn't think of a better way to finish it, and quite honestly, I couldn't think of anyone that is really putting Theodor Herzl's words and his very vision to practice as you are, as a leader, you personally, and also as JNF-USA is doing. You said that, we're talking about Zionism, that it's our shared values and our common destiny. And I think that's incredibly powerful and important for all of us to remember, that irrespective of whether we are here in Israel, in the United States, or anywhere around the world, that Zionism is a beautiful thing, it's a positive thing, and it's something that truly connects us. And a large reason for that is the incredible work that you're doing. There are some that sit and talk, and there are others that actually do. You do. And for that, I think all of us here in the State of Israel and the Jewish people are better for that. Russell, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.